Hello. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Sarah Hoffman, and in my initial proposition, I proposed that I would like to investigate what it would take for Denver Public Schools to become a breastfeeding-friendly workplace. After continuous extensive research, I found that there is an alarming lack of support for lactation nationwide and at Denver Public Schools. Research finds that working directly impacts initiation and duration of nursing. There are multiple confirmed benefits for nursing for baby, parent, and the employer. These are the driving factors for what sets the foundation and focus for my ultimate driving question. It is because of these findings that for my final proposition of my capstone project that I make it my goal to help Denver Public Schools become a lactation-friendly workplace. In this presentation, I will go over the history of women in the workforce, history and current lactation laws and policies, research on lactation both nationwide and at DPS, benefits of nursing, my driving question and lessons learned, and program proposals and next steps for Denver Public Schools. Since World War II, women in the workforce has increased from 32% in 1948 to 56.7% in 2016. It is reported that 70% of women working have children under the age of 18, and 75% work full-time. At DPS, there are 15,461 employees, and 11,214 identify as women. 3,090 fall within the age bracket of 21 to 29, and 7,853 fall between the age bracket of 30 to 49, both very common childbearing ages. As I have presented before, there were not really any federal laws protecting lactation practices in the workplace. It wasn't until 1964, under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, that employers were prohibited for any type of discrimination based off of race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. And in 1978, the Act to amend Title VII prohibited sex discrimination on the basis of pregnancy. Although both of these laws were beneficial, there were still no laws in place to protect lactation in the workplace. On March 23, 2010, the Patient Protection Action and Affordable Care Act, or PPACA, was enacted. This is a federal law and a provision to the Fair Labor Standard Act. Currently, under the PPACA, employers with 50 or more employees are required to provide breastfeeding employees a clean and private space to express milk until the baby reaches 1 year of age. Also, under the PPACA, insurance companies are required to provide preventative services such as support, supplies, counseling, and a pump. Currently, the state of Colorado follows the PPACA and also creates a patchwork for the gaps in coverage. In the state of Colorado, under the Workplace Accommodation of Nursing Mothers Act, employers with 1 or more employee are required to provide breastfeeding employees a clean and private space to express milk until the baby reaches 2 years of age. Also, under the Breastfeeding in Public Act, mothers can breastfeed wherever they have a right to be. Despite current laws, research finds that employment has a negative effect on the duration and initiation of lactation in the workplace. One study found that working women that plan on returning to work full-time are 1.34 times more likely to terminate breastfeeding than women who decide not to return to work. Important lessons learned from this process is that equity is a very important value at DPS and is something that I value as an individual and employee. In order to be more equitable and inclusive, I have switched from becoming a breastfeeding-friendly workplace to becoming a lactation-friendly workplace. This is so that the project is inclusive to all employees. Inclusive language and information can be found from the La Leche League and is hyperlinked in my Padlet. Secondly, there are specific policies on approved furniture that can be purchased, where it can be placed so it's not a fire hazard, HVAC accessible rooms, human resources support, and specific communication policies. Identifying and including representatives from these departments will help make sure that we are in compliance and that there are no surprises throughout this capstone. On this slide, there are 3 different charts. The first chart is data collected from internally and identifies the number of maternity, paternity, and adoption leaves from the past 3 years. This chart is important because it tells us there is a steady request for paternity leaves and requires support for lactation. The second chart is from an internal employee survey that asked participants if they were aware of any designated lactation spaces or mindfulness spaces. 61% said no, and 21% said they did not know. This question will continue to be answered and measured, but for clarity purposes, it will be worded differently so that there are two separate questions. From this question, we can see that not very many employees are aware of any lactation spaces. The third chart shows results from the HealthLinks assessment, and the lowest score is for health programs and policies, which lactation support falls under. There are multiple benefits from nursing, and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends breastfeeding through 6 months postpartum and continued until the infant reaches 12 months of age. Benefits for the childbearer include decreased breast cancer, ovarian cancer, heart disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, and weak bones and breaks. Benefits for the baby include decreased chance of SIDS, respiratory ear infections, diarrhea and GI problems, childhood obesity, leukemia and other childhood cancers, asthma, allergies, and eczema. Employers can benefit from being a lactation-friendly workplace by seeing an increase in productivity, lower absenteeism, increase in retention, cost savings for families, and decreased healthcare costs. The ultimate driving question was if an organization has a built environment that includes designated lactation rooms, policies that support lactation in the workplace, and supervisor support, then will lactation be more likely to be initiated well into the baby's first year of life? It is because of my extensive research and findings that it is my final proposal to create designated lactation rooms, a district-wide policy that incorporates and enhances state and federal lactation policies, that also engages leaderships and enhances their support. To put this in perspective, these employees are important organization team members and most likely on the district's benefits. These babies are the district's future students. Important research articles and best practice materials have been identified and posted on my Breifcase Padlet page. Important materials include pre- and post-program assessments, lactation-friendly policies, funding opportunities, steps to gain leadership support, culture audits, research articles, and other toolkits. I plan to utilize these materials throughout my capstone project. I have started to utilize some of the materials, such as the Colorado Employer Toolkit, which identifies the first 6 steps for creating a lactation-friendly workplace. In order to complete the capstone project in the few weeks that we have, I've started to assess the needs and interests from previous employee surveys and workplace assessments such as the one from HealthLinks. The second step is to form a committee, and so far I have myself, the district wellness specialist, and the district manager for ADA and leaves of absence. Together, the committee will look at the materials that I've compiled, and I will facilitate meetings and create a timeline for next steps. With these tools, numerous research articles, federal and state laws, my lactation committee, I believe that I can successfully help DPS to become a lactation-friendly workplace for my capstone project.